What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Troll Bro Dude, and today I am very excited to have back onto the podcast just a little over a week later after our last episode where we discussed the Sixers Raptors series. This time I'm very happy to have him on because it means that the Sixers avoided the collapse allegations and for now do not appear to be frauds. So for now, most importantly, but we have Mike Chiato. What's going on, Mike?
I'm very good. How are you?
We're feeling great today. We're
great.
The vibes are up. 4-2.
I did not know it was possible for the vibes to be this good after Monday, but
I honestly was panicking. Like I didn't feel that bad after game 4 because I was like, they're gonna win one game. Like
I didn't care about game 4.
Yeah. When they lost game 5 and they looked disgusting, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I was panicking the night of Monday night game 5. I was panicking, like I was just losing my mind. Like they have no heart. Like they're just soft. Like they'll never. I was in full on like slander mode. Yeah. And then Tuesday I was kind of like, well, I'm still mad, but I think they'll probably win on Thursday. And then by Wednesday I was all in again.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't record a podcast. I had multiple people reach out to me about doing an emergency podcast after game 5, but this is why you don't overreact to one playoff game. The vibe can shift so quickly. Obviously, the slander would have been generational if.
Yeah, we got to give them credit. If they do one thing after humiliating game 5 home losses and they win game 6 on the road. Luckily, they don't have a game 7 after this. But
yes. Yeah. Fantastic news. I don't really know what that was last night. I honestly was completely shocked. I said on the live stream, I thought it was going to come down to the wire. I thought that it would be much closer based on the last few games. Like, I mean, like the Raptors won the games, but they were mostly close enough games. Their leads weren't like 20. They were like 12 for the majority of the game there. The Sixers were keeping it close even when they were losing. And I was not feeling good after the even game 3, which we won, and I recorded about that game. Like, I just felt like, what do I make of this team? The first 2 games, we looked fantastic. You know, it seems like the series kind of swung with the Fred VanVleet injury. Like, it seems like whenever he was on the court, the Sixers had someone they could target. He looked compromised. He didn't look good at all. And then all of a sudden, the Raptors, they can't. So like Harden looks like shit. Maxey can't hit a fucking shot. Embiid, like, and that's part of the reason why I was worried about recording that episode and overreacting, because I was like, what is Embiid doing? Like, he was moping around. He was whatever. And then you get the weird comments coming out of the press conference from Doc and Danny Green, which are basically like Doc defending his record of blown leads, and Danny saying like, we either gotta step up, nut up, or collapse. And then I'm like, okay, that doesn't make me feel any better, Danny. Yeah, please don't. The vibes were very weird. It seemed like they were fantastic, and then they shifted.
I can never tell what the Sixers vibes are, because it seems like they're constantly awful. But then you'll also see things and you're like, this is the closest team we've ever seen. Like the vibes are great. And I can never tell what the vibes are. Like probably 2 years running out since 2020. The vibes, I could just never tell. But yeah, like I had a feeling yesterday they were going to win comfortably. They were going to come out and step on their throats. But I was nervous in the first half because Chris Boucher, it just felt like one of those games. Like Chris Boucher is going to score 35 points and we're going to go back to Philly for a game 7. Where Precious Achiuwa hit 3 threes shortly in the first half. But yeah, like they just really, the first half, if not for Boucher, there was like some lucky stuff. Like the rebounding's a problem, but there was some lucky like bounces for the Raptors. They probably should have went up 10 at halftime. And then the second half, they just came out and the game was over. Like Maxey went on a little run. At that point, they're up 15 or whatever. And then Embiid and Harden just took over, and that was it.
Yeah, I think Harden setting the tone the way that he did in the first quarter was extremely important, because I was a little bit nervous about Joel's comments after the game when he said, I've been telling him he should be more aggressive. That's on coach. That's on him. Like,
yeah, he came, and especially even Joel, like he finished very well, but at the beginning, Joel looked a little off. They were going at him to start the game, Scotty Barnes went at him the first 2 possessions, I think.
Yeah,
And that was a little worrisome.
And especially after game 4, where defensively I've never seen a team attack Joel like that. Like there was, I think, 9 straight points the Raptors scored on Joel at one point. It was very uncharacteristic. It seems like, Joel in space isn't the best defender in the world, but he can hold his own usually, especially.
It really seemed to me like he was just moping all of Monday's game, and he was just feeling sorry for himself with the thumb and stuff. And when they were just going at him, it felt like he was just overwhelmed, and he was just not really giving as much effort as he normally does. But yeah.
And then for him to come out and have a great defensive game like he did last night after struggling was really good to see. Harden coming out, kind of stepping on their throats from the jump. We even had a dunk from Harden, which I didn't even know he could do anymore. I mean, not as surprising as the Danny Green dunk, but definitely a very surprising thing.
It might have been close.
It was definitely because it was a contested dunk too.
He legitimately looked really good last night. Like
he did.
The final numbers are good. They don't show it, but from the jump, you could tell he came out. He was getting more space. He was getting to the rim easily. He was finishing pretty well. Missed a really easy layup early, but. Yeah, he really set the tone, I felt like, early in that game.
Absolutely. And that was completely necessary because I feel as though when you run an offense with Joel out of the post, that sometimes that option's just not going to be there. And one of the reasons why we got Harden, and one of the reasons why, we felt great about this offense was because you had multiple perimeter options between him and Maxey that you could run the offense through. And Joel was essentially last night kind of just acting like a play finisher on the pick and roll, getting deep seals like under the basket, basically. And then they just Niang and Harden and everyone just had to get the ball to Joel, and he was able to just easy peasy make a bunch of layups and dunks and get to the line. Like it was the bet. Like Doc said before the game that we have another gear that we can go to, and then I'm like, well, fucking show us it, because you showed us it for 2 games and like it was good. But last night, and the one thing I've been talking about this whole time, and like keep in mind it is the Raptors, and like they're not contenders, so like I'm not expecting this team to like be like world beaters or whatever when they really give a shit. But at the same time, like I've been saying, I've been waiting for a signature win. And I do feel like last night would be categorized as a signature win. They blew them out to the point where the reserves were coming in at the end. They won the series. They made a statement on the road in Toronto, and everyone looked great offensively. And when they were locked in defensively, they looked really good too.
Yeah, that was definitely very encouraging to see, because if they would have gone in there and just squeaked out a win, no one really looked that good, but they just squeaked it out because they're better than the Raptors. It wouldn't have been great heading into the Miami series. You probably would have felt pretty bad, but you get that win, and I think everyone's back on board now. It's a good for the team. I'd probably argue it's good that they lost game 5 and had to go through that, where the entire world was against them. They had to really band together. They went to a really hostile environment and shut them up. Yeah. And just destroyed them utterly. They just destroyed them. The rest time would have been the same. Like people will probably say the rest. If they won on Monday, they'd be playing Saturday. And now so it's 1 day difference of rest. But yeah.
That's basically even if you win game 7, that's a schedule loss for the Monday. You got Harden going to Miami with no rest. I mean, come on now. We're talking about a man who is incapable of that at this point in his career, especially considering the environment in South Beach. But I do just think that like we needed that statement win, like you said. Like we needed them to come out and kind of just put their foot on the gas and show that they were the better team, because other than the offensive rebounding, it did feel as though the Sixers dominated pretty much every aspect of that game. The offensive rebounding from Toronto was driving me nuts.
I just don't understand it. I really do not understand.
So bad. It's so bad.
I get they're slow. They're small aside from Joel, and they're unathletic, but man, like it cannot be this hard.
Tobias is the only one that even fights for fucking rebounds, to be honest, which is crazy. Oh, to Paul Reed too, but like that's crazy. Like
you cannot do that against Miami.
No,
just cannot happen.
And I just want to brush over this point a little bit. the Thibault stuff. Get this guy off the fucking team, dude. I don't even want to see this guy
like
for the rest of the playoffs.
Last night I was thinking about how great the night was, just an all-time night, and like something's gonna happen that brings us down. And what happened was at 2 a.m. I was like, oh, that's right, Matisse exists. That was it.
Game 5, his stretch. So everyone looked like shit during Game 5. So I don't want to go too hard on Thibault, but I'm going to because he sucks. And it's amazing to watch that game. And defensively, even getting blown by, doing his bullshit recover thing, which doesn't always work, never making a shot, getting to the line twice, missing both free throws. The only time he even scored a bucket on any of his 6 attempts in that game was because Precious Achiuwa knocked the ball back in on an attempted rebound.
Yeah, and that pass he made in the corner where Maxey passed to and passed it back and just passed it right to Scotty Barnes. It's one of the worst passes I've ever seen. And it was probably the moment where you were just like, okay, we're losing this. Like this is a disaster.
And Doc stuck with them in the second half. Honestly, I got to give Doc credit. I thought he was really good this series. Like I think that all things considered, he was fantastic. I think the 2 things that drove me the most nuts were 3 things. There were 3 things that I had mentioned that drove me nuts, which was treating by the way, Pascal Siakam, my agenda was going to be in hell if we lost this game or series, because Pascal Siakam looked awesome for most of the series. I've always been a little bit lower.
He looked awesome in Game 4, 5 in the first half of Game 6.
Yes.
And to be fair, Game 4, 3-0 series, that's kind of like a mid-March game. That's where he thrives. Game 5, look, the Sixers were asleep. Okay. Game 6 beginning, he was thriving off the home crowd. I'll give him credit for that. He disappeared in the second half. Like I didn't hear his name once in the second half.
Yeah. He had 2 really bad second halves in this series when it felt like if the Raptors had a real guy, like if you age advance Scotty Barnes by a few years, or even if you just brought someone in. No. What I'm trying to say here is that Pascal Siakam, as good as he is at times, he can't be your number 1 guy if you want to.
I will not give any Raptor any semblance of credit.
Well, I mean, I do think it's cool.
I do not want to hear anyone talking of giving them credit, like good game, guys. Like Scotty's going to be a beast. No, I don't want to hear that. No.
Well, that's why they got Thad Young, dude, because now they have Thad Young too.
They traded a first-round pick for Thad Young, who played with Allen Iverson on the Sixers.
Also, little sidebar before we get into how good Doc was in the series, which is something that I begrudgingly will talk about. Goran Dragic last night tweeting. I don't know if you saw this.
I saw it. Oh, yeah, I saw it.
Everyone was very angry. If you didn't see this,
I give him credit.
I need to put it in context, though. Hold on. If you didn't see this, Goran Dragic, who just got swept in the first round, which is kind of funny, all things considered, people were giving him shit because he didn't want to be in Toronto, basically made it known from the jump. And instead of just releasing him, they waited until the trade deadline, traded him with a first-round pick for Thad Young, which still makes literally no sense to me. Like, especially because Toronto's like a pretty good drafting team. Like, why the fuck are you trading a first-round pick for Thad Young? It didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, Goran Dragic
does it again.
Malachi Flynn. Maybe Malachi Flynn just was like,
what are they going to do without getting this year's Malachi Flynn? Oh my God. They're screwed.
So they end up, whatever. They cut. He goes to San Antonio. Goran Dragic gets bought out, and he said he wanted to go somewhere more competitive. So he signs with the Nets, which, by the way, of course, even though the Nets went out sad and they got swept, like they were much closer to title contenders than this Raptors team. I don't even think that's debatable.
No,
they have Kevin Durant.
The Celtics would have beaten the Raptors so bad that Raptors fans would have I don't know what they would have done. It would have been very concerning for Celtics fans. They would have been in danger. By the way, Dragic, I give him credit for standing up to them. Like, he probably did not feel safe there, and I can't blame him. Credit to Goran Dragic.
he tweets the crying face emojis after they lose last night, and that sent the whole nation into a tailspin.
Look, he wanted to be on a contender. That's the reason he had to say. The real reason is he did not feel safe with his family in Toronto. How could you? By the way,
He saw the tweet.
Can the Sixers like tweet out a picture of of them arriving in Philly? Like, I'm concerned we don't have a picture yet. Arriving in Philly. I just want to be sure they made it out safely.
Yeah, I mean, based on some of the threats that were made after game 1, I am concerned about Joel's well-being and where he is right now. So hopefully, Joel, if you're seeing this, DM me or something, because yeah, by the way, he does follow me on Twitter. Just in case he is. No, but I do feel as though, kind of going back to what we were talking about with the Doc stuff, like Doc was pretty like great out of timeout that he called at the end of game 3. I felt like the rotations were pretty good. The main gripes I had with the rotation was in games 1 and 2, he had this rotation that I might have mentioned on the last podcast. I can't remember, where he ran Paul Reed with the 4 starters. And then he just decided to not do that anymore. Like, my biggest thing with him, other than like sticking with his guys like he does with Thibault and he did with DeAndre Jordan for too long, is there's not really a lot of rhyme or reason to anything that Doc Rivers does. He kind of just like throws shit at the wall. And even if it sticks, he sometimes is like, no, we're just going to do something else next time. And I'm like, Paul Reed plus the 4 starters was fantastic. And then we didn't see it again in game 3. Game 4, we saw it for 1 minute in game 5. And then I believe he did bring back that lineup, or at least a variation of that lineup last night. And it worked fantastically again. I didn't get it.
His thing where he was taking Joel out with like 4:30 left in the first quarter and then bringing him back with a minute left.
Yeah.
And then giving him another rest early in the second. I kind of like that. And during the regular season, I like going with Joel the whole first quarter. I like that in the regular season. But in the playoffs, when he has to exert so much energy, I think it's probably a good idea to get him two rests in a half. Plus, he also when he came out the first time, I think it was the B-ball Paul with the other 4 starters lineup. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Honestly, the only time that I felt worried last night, well, once again, the Raptors started the game 7 for 8. Gary Trent Jr. couldn't miss. Chris Boucher, who I have called Toronto Dirk Nowitzki before when he plays the Sixers. We had him during the live stream. I asked them to look it up because I was like, how good is this guy against the Sixers? Because it feels like he never fucking misses during the regular season against us. He's a career 55.6% 3-point shooter against the Sixers in the regular season. I know he didn't really make an impact on the series until last night, but I was like, of course. So the hot shooting fades for them. The Sixers come out with the zone in the second half, and the Raptors cannot score on the zone. They never really figured it out to the point where the Sixers lead just completely fucking ballooned. I knew the game was over when Maxey hit that 3 to extend it. Like, I never feel comfortable when the Sixers have a lead, but I will say, as I was saying during the stream, it's like they don't have a guy like Trae Young, or they honestly, like, they don't even have like someone like last year's version of Lou Williams who would come off the bench and just like give you nightmares offensively sometimes. Like, Gary Trent Jr. gets hot sometimes, but he's not going to run the offense. Like, they just don't have the initiators to come back when they're down 20 in a game and come back and win it. So I wasn't as afraid towards the end.
Yeah. You have to think, like, if the Raptors could have gotten Tyrese Maxey, how perfect a fit he would, they would definitely have done it. You know, I'm just saying, you would think, like what you just said, they don't have that guy. You'd think if they would have had a chance to get Tyrese Maxey in a trade for, let's just say, an expiring contract, they definitely would have done that deal. So it's unfortunate that
any expiring contract too.
Yeah, especially a guy who you're probably going to rest the rest of the season because he just doesn't feel like playing anymore. But that's a very unique circumstance that I'm sure that Raptors didn't have, and I'm sure Masai would not have passed up because he's Masai Ujiri.
Of course not. He would send a message to the league,
Yeah, you can't lowball Masai, and Maxey would not be lowballing him, but if he had a chance to get Tyrese, right? Yeah, I'm just saying, like, theoretically, it crossed my mind with what you were saying, that how perfect Tyrese would be on that team. It's unfortunate because they would be a pretty cool team with Tyrese, but it's unfortunate they didn't have that chance.
Definitely. Oh, I actually think that this series is going to make it, because I was thinking about it before Game 6, and I was looking at the on-offs with Fred VanVleet, and I don't know if you saw the on-offs with Fred VanVleet during this series.
I knew they were bad, though.
They were horrendous. Like Fred VanVleet, and I'm not going to blame it all on Fred VanVleet because he was part of it was the fact that he wasn't himself, and then another part of it was the Raptors just kind of sucked in games 1 and 2 when he played. Not just him, like everyone fucking sucked. But when he was on before last night in 140 minutes, they had a negative 16 net rating per 100 possessions. And when he was off, they had a plus 10 net rating. And my takeaway from that is that I think that they're going to go sicko mode and lean further into whatever they think is going on.
I would love for them to trade VanVleet. That would be awesome.
I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to just go all forwards, all wings.
That would be awesome. It would backfire so bad. Oh my God. I need that so bad. Masai thinking that he can win with all forwards. That'd be such a Masai thing to do. And in August, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Masai, look at this, how stretchy they are. Those length. Oh, they're going to be so dangerous. And then they'll win 40 games.
It's because Nick Nurse will play them 47 minutes a game in the regular season.
Nick Nurse will be in LA, but they'll have some assistant.
Yeah. Maybe one of their assistants that
they'll have Doc Rivers.
Wait, who will have Doc Rivers? The Raptors?
Yeah. They can, not if we win the title.
Well, they don't have a first round pick to trade us, so
they can take him. Well, they can take VanVleet for Doc is a fair trade.
I agree with that. I actually think Masai, call us up if you're interested in a Fred VanVleet for Doc Rivers trade. Both point guards.
Masai seems like a Doc guy.
So I do just want to say I mentioned this on the live stream as well, but like this idea that Nick Nurse wouldn't take the Lakers job is insane. Like, here's the thing. You might hate the Lakers. What's up?
The man's in danger.
No, they love but that's the thing. If you're their guy, they love Nick Nurse.
Death threats.
They love Masai. They love all of their guys.
If you question Nick Nurse's rotations, they will show up at your house. But if he goes to the Lakers, he's got to get out of there fast. And he cannot go back. When the Lakers play the Raptors next year, he cannot go back. Someone else got to coach that game.
Have a bodyguard with him 24/7 while he's walking.
And give him advice. Nick, if you need some advice, DM me. I'll give you some advice.
Mike is never allowed in Canada himself, so he gets it, But yeah, so the Southern California thing is like interesting. Like, what? Like, you might hate the Lakers. You might hate the Lakers.
People are talking about how bad the job is. Like, Russ, it's Los Angeles. Like, it's Toronto versus Los Angeles. This isn't even a Toronto slant. Like, it's Toronto versus Los Angeles.
Yeah, you're rich and famous, and you can do whatever you want. 99 out of 100 guys are going to pick the Lakers job because of where it is and because of the history. Like, even if you don't want to coach LeBron, I don't think, and as we brought up on the stream last night, I don't think he's a LeBron kind of coach. I don't even think that solves any issues. But I do think it's funny that people are like, why would he ever want to leave? And then I'm like, it's Southern California. And it's also like, you can literally just live in Malibu and chill. This guy lived in England for 20 years and now Toronto. You don't think he was going to be interested in a job in Southern California?
He's there in Los Angeles. He's done
his tour of duty in these other countries. He deserves the Lakers job. But yes. So back to Doc. I thought Doc was very good in this series. Second time that a Sixers coach has outcoached Nick Nurse in a playoff series in the past few years. Honestly, like we could talk a little bit about the Heat series because, they avoid Game 7. They move on. I still don't know what to make of this team because there are times where they look like holy shit, and there are times where they look like holy shit, this is bad. So, like, what do we really make of?
I don't know.
Like, what do we make?
My hope is that like maybe they just took their foot off the gas after Game 3, and even though they didn't look good in Game 3, and that The team we got in game 1, 2, and 6 are the team we'll get the rest of the way. But realistically, if you look at it, if you get like 2 or 3 games where they look like the 98 Bulls in a series, then you just got to win one more. So you just got to scratch out a win where you're not the 96 Bulls. But if you're the 96 Bulls, I'll take our chances.
I do think that heading into the Miami series, Miami's a better team than Toronto. I think that their talent is, I think they're kind of just like the better like an optimized version of what the Raptors are. Like they have long, good defenders. They have actual but they have like all NBA play. Like Jimmy Butler's an all NBA player. They have shooters. Like the Raptors don't have any, like the Sixers, I believe, even in the game where we lost in game 5, the Raptors were getting open shots, and some of them were by design just to let guys shoot, but like they were shooting like 20% from 3. Like in order to beat the Heat, you're going to need to have a much better defensive effort. I feel like offensively, they're going to have some games where Harden is just not, like, it pretty much all comes down to what Harden is. Because if Harden comes out and looks like he did last night or like he did in game 1, the Sixers have a chance to beat pretty much anyone. Like they can compete at least with the highest of the high in the league. And I don't know. Like, I'm confused because I feel as though the Sixers obviously have the top end talent advantage with Joel Embiid. Spoelstra is someone who's given Joel fits in the past too. Bam's an adequate defender of Joel, especially when you can send help and you're not as reckless as Toronto is just throwing bodies at him, where he can kind of exploit that sometimes. So I do think it's going to probably go 6 or 7. I think that Spoelstra's just a much better offensive coach than, like, Nick Nurse is a really good defensive coach. Spoelstra's good on both ends. And I think that advantage wise, like tactically, the talent gap being smaller than it was in the last series, plus them having a scheme, plus them having depth, plus the fact that they are like a real team. And that's one thing that I've been like, even though I like a lot of the players on the Sixers, it still feels as though to me that this is more just like a collection of talent, kind of like the 18-19 team where they just had a bunch of talented players, but they didn't really make sense as a team. Like this, like the Heat make much more sense as a team to me than the Sixers. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this, especially with their health question marks.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to have to be like a big Maxey series to me.
Yeah.
Because Maxey's going to, they attacked Van Vliet a lot before Van Vliet went out, and that's where Maxey's getting a lot of his buckets. This series, Maxey's going to need to be attacking Hero and Robinson nonstop because he can get by those. He can score a lot on those guys. My biggest concern in Heat series is Gabe Vincent. But
of course.
Yeah. And my other big concern is Dwayne Dedmon, I believe, is like 6'10". So
he's 7 foot. I looked it up.
Oh, he's 7. That's not good. That's not. Doc's going to see that. He's going to see he's 7 foot. He looked up he guaranteed Doc looked up the height. So DeAndre will be back in there.
He's on Basketball Reference right now, looking at the centimeters. We got
to email back Basketball Reference, telling us knock him down to 6'11".
6'10". Can we get a 6'9" on Dwayne Dedmon, please?
But seriously though, like Doc, I really hope Doc sticks with what's going on, and he doesn't. Like Matisse does not play a ton. DeAndre doesn't play at all. Danny stays in the starting lineup. Bebo Paul's the backup center. That's honest, like legitimate. That's a concern that Doc in this series will switch it back up, and DeAndre will be the backup center. Matisse will be back in the starting lineup. That's my concern. And
that would happens, be a disaster.
If that happens, like maybe Doc adjusts, but it will be 2-0 Miami coming back.
100%. Yep. DeAndre Jordan can't see the floor
because they will attack. Like Spoelstra will destroy DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, absolutely. And Thibault, even like I remember specifically multiple Miami games where the Sixers have court offense. I believe Bodner did a piece earlier this year that he talked about on the podcast, and he talked about how the famous line that came from it was, on one night Thibault can shut down Steph Curry, and on the next night he can shut down Tyrese Maxey. And the point of that was in the Heat game specifically, that he fucks up the spacing so badly in the half court, and in the playoffs, you're not going to be able to get out and run, even though, there were times that we were able to in the Raptor series. You're not going to be able to get out and run against this Heat team as much as you would like to, even though they're a little bit older and a little bit less athletic than the Raptors. I do feel as though that's going to be a point of emphasis for them. Like, do not let Tyrese Maxey get leak outs. Do not let them just like, and one of the things that the Sixers actually were doing was they were kind of giving into that once the Raptors were focusing on that. Like they would get out and they would all start to run, and then they would, except for Tobias was the only one that was looking to score on the fast break. And it feels as though they were kind of giving into that. And because of that, like Thibault, if he is playing at all, cannot be anything more than a spot minute guy that you throw on Jimmy Butler from time to time, or even chasing Duncan Robinson around screens to slow down that action, that two-man game with Duncan Robinson and Bam Adebayo. Like, I think that it's going to be a really close series, but I feel like the tactical advantages, like you said, we can attack Hero, we can attack Robinson, we can attack. I mean, Max Strus is a fine defender, but like I'm just generally thinking,
if Max Strus is going to just destroy
kill
us.
100%.
We're going to lose the series in 6 or 7, and we're going to be like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. Just those are the two guys that just Max Strus will be the new Kevin Huerter.
100%.
Vincent, I've spent like the last month watching the Heat and being like, there's no way we're going to lose to a team that's starting Max Strus. And that's going to come back and bite me. Like I know that he will hit the 3 in game 7. Where we're going to be up by 1 with 20 seconds left, and Max Strus will hit a 3. That is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds about right, because it does feel as though those are the kind of guys that give the Sixers fits. And the shooters, especially guys, because their goal is going to be get Joel out of the paint, have Bam and Robinson and Strus and Hero run these two-man actions with Bam outside of the paint to get him out of there, and that's going to be concerning.
My bold prediction is that the Sixers will play Duncan Robinson off the floor, only for Gabe Vincent to become Duncan Robinson and bubble Duncan Robinson. I can see that coming. Where like game 4, everyone's going to be Duncan Robinson is just so bad, and then Gabe Vincent will take over.
The Gabe Vincent will turn into.
I'm not kidding. Gabe Vincent is my most feared player in this series.
It's amazing. I really do feel as though the two players I fear the most on the Heat are Max Strus and Gabe Vincent for the same reasons. Like now
that I think about it, Oladipo will turn into Pacers Oladipo.
Yes. Well, I mean, I said the other day on Twitter that he should be a target for us on the MLE for next season. I feel as though he might be washed, but like, I don't know. Some games I watch him and I go, oh shit, he looks pretty good. Like sometimes it's just tough shot making and stuff, but like, he looked pretty good in that game the other night. I mean, I know it was the Hawks, but like they were able, like, first off, the Jimmy Butler thing, like when they sat Jimmy Butler, I was like, cause I think the Kyle Lowry thing, like I think he's really injured. Like I think that the hamstring, it's a real injury. They're being precautious with it, but like I don't think they want to rush him back. Like he'll probably play in game 1, but I don't think that Kyle Lowry is going to be 100%. He's like 35 years old. Like their whole team is pretty old except for Bam and Hero. And you look at that and you go, like, them sitting out Jimmy, like, they just did not take the Hawks seriously at all. Like, I thought that was a bold-ass move just to sit out Jimmy for that game.
I probably in my head think of the Hawks way better than they really are because of last year. But even though I constantly can't believe we lost to them, I still in my head are like, think they're better than they are. But yeah, like, because it was weird. I thought because if this goes back to Atlanta for game 6, Hawks win that, all of a sudden you're into game 7.
Right.
So I thought that was weird. But yeah, like that Hawks going into the series, I thought the Hawks had a legitimate chance to win, and the Heat destroyed. I'm not even giving the Heat credit for that. I'm just clearly I overrated the Hawks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they sat out Jimmy and Lowry for the last game, and Trey looked like fucking shit the whole series.
Lowry didn't play game 4 either, and they won game. Hawks won game 3, but he didn't play in that one either.
Yeah, he was midway through. Yeah, he was out for a good chunk of that series, and it didn't really seem like they missed. But that is one of the advantages of having a ton of depth, and also that is one of the advantages of having a bunch of guys who use your rest during the season.
See, like we say that. But if Gabe Vincent and Max Strus were here, they'd be terrible.
Of course.
Gabe Vincent and Max Strus are two guys. They're only good in Miami.
Of course.
Whenever they leave, they'll be out of the league in 2 years.
It's Spoelstra. Like, I'm not saying that they're not Spoelstra merchants, but they're on the Heat and in there. But no, what I'm saying is they are Spoelstra merchants, but they're currently on the Heat, and Eric Spoelstra is the head coach, and he seems to figure out a way with these guys where you're just like, how the fuck is like,
HGH.
And then it has to be. We need to investigate HGH culture is what I'm trying to say. Is what's going on in South Beach? Who is Pat Riley's plug? Is what I'm wondering. For the HGH.
Remember when LeBron looked washed when he was in Cleveland his first year, and then he went to Miami, and all of a sudden he had the best 4-year stretch of his career? Why did he go to Miami?
Stay woke. I'm telling you, all these guys, they go to Miami and then they're like good again, or they were never good before and then they're suddenly good. I don't know. It's weird.
I asked Silver. I asked Silver. No one cares about the Heat, really.
Yeah,
Adam Silver. No one cares. Like, it's a 75th anniversary year. Don't you want Sixers Celtics in the conference finals? Come on, Adam. Come on.
Good point.
You can easily give us this win.
You definitely make a lot more money if it were Sixers Celtics, not only from, I think, the star power that you would get in the Eastern Conference Finals with that, but also the fan bases would be more willing to pay money to go to the games and watch the games.
Stephen A. Smith will be having a conniption on his first take every day over James Harden. Like, come on.
Come on now.
No one
Put in the call. Put in the call, Adam. No one
cares about the Heat.
No. The Heat are very much a franchise that exists just to make me mad, which is why I think they're going to win the series. So I just want to come out and say that. I do think that it's going to be one of those situations where like a lot of the games are close and the Heat just execute better down the stretch. And Jimmy Butler is going to go fucking sicko mode this series if he's healthy. Like, I think that he's going to destroy us in a way because I've been making fun of him. And like they've lost. I did a Heat Pack episode like a month ago, and they've lost one game since then.
Oh, what? Really? I remember that.
They're like 12-1 since that episode.
Yeah, I look at this objectively, and I think the Sixers are the better team. And I kind of think they're going to win. But then I have this barrier with this team where I'm just not going to believe they're going to get out of the second round until I see it.
Yeah.
In my head, I picture them like, I think we win in 6, but then like, can I really picture them winning in 6 and then going to the conference finals? I'm not sure.
Well, it depends. Do you think that beating the demons that were the Raptors demons, with Joel struggling against them in the regular season all these years, and in the playoffs never losing in Toronto and all that, even though the Sixers were clearly the better team with more talent and all that shit, do you think that was a level of like that would give them the confidence? Because it feels like this team is very dependent on just being confident. And if does that series win, is that enough to get them over the hump that they can just be like, fuck it, we're the better team, let's go down there and like have the mentality that like the Sixers have just never had?
Yeah. That's why I said I honestly thought it was a good thing they lost game 5 and had to go into Toronto game 6 and just destroy them. They won by 35. That is, I feel like they are a team when they are playing with juice, they're playing together. You can tell like they look like the best team in the league, frankly. Yeah. But when things go bad, and they tend to like when things go bad, it's not just one game. They tend to go bad. So that will be my concern in this series is like if they lose game 1 in Miami and it's like an ugly game and Embiid is 22 points and they lose by 10, can they bounce back, go win game 2 in Miami? Because like you need to
Harden's out at Fountain Blue that night. He's got Maxey and Niang with them.
I can already see the sports radio host losing their mind because Harden's going to be at a club on Monday night.
Of course, 100% chance that happens. Even did you see the video of him where he was out at the club with like Shake and DeAndre and all them like 2 weeks ago?
It was after, wasn't? No, yeah, I think it was after game 1.
Okay, yeah, so it was like 2 weeks ago almost.
Yeah,
at this point, and
it was after a win.
Yeah. And he was like, saw that the person was recording him and he just like froze. Like, like they couldn't see him if he didn't move. Like, he was just like, I mean, there will be plenty of eyes on him in this series on the court, off the court. It's going to be interesting because I do think that Miami has some defenders. Like we'll see. Because if Jimmy really is hurt, that is a massive factor.
Yeah,
Jimmy Because if the Heat win this series, the one thing I will say I have to give Jimmy credit for is he's adaptable. So, like, do you remember in the Celtics series in the bubble when, like, Jimmy, when he was on the Sixers, had to be like the scorer, like the punch, and he showed that against the Bucks in the bubble again after he showed it against the Raptors for stretches in the playoffs. And he showed it with the Heat against the Bucks, and he was just dominant scoring wise. And then when the Celtics were like, we're not going to let Jimmy score on us, he became kind of like point Jimmy. He's kind of like Harden, an older version of Harden in that regard, in that he can be adaptable. But if the knee isn't right, like, he is someone who relies on, like, defensively, he's going to need a lot of lateral quickness. Not that the Sixers have a ton of guys, but, like, if he's hobbled, like, that is a matchup that, like, they need to have him, because he's really their only shutdown perimeter guy. Like, they don't have shutdown perimeter guys except Bam if they go heavy switching, sure. But then again, are you going to go heavy switching with Joel Embiid? Like, I don't know. Like, are you going to want to get Tyler Hero matched up against Joel Embiid?
They do not have the personnel to be switching against Embiid, because Embiid will destroy anyone. Like,
right.
But like Jimmy does. He is someone that is just so adaptable. Like, he said in the bubble, I don't remember anything from the bubble, but it sounds right.
Did it really happen?
Yeah, but yeah, Jimmy, like, if he's like 70%, and Lowry's obviously not going to be 100%, I don't think the Sixers should win this series almost 100%. Easily. Yeah, because Jimmy, for the Heat to win this series, Jimmy is going to have to be just a monster, which I expect him to be. But because the Heat are kind of a weird team, because as much as they are like the Raptors, where they'll just throw a ton of guys at you, a ton of good defenders, lengthy guys, they also have a bunch of guys you can exploit with Harden and Maxey, with Robinson and Hero and Strus. Even though, I be honest, I do not know a thing about Max Strus's defense. Just with the name Max Strus and what he looks like, he's got to be a bad defender. But
he's a white guy? Yeah, okay. I mean, Hero and Robinson have said before, they're like, we think we get attacked defensively because we're white. And I'm like, well, you're also not good defenders. I don't know.
I'm sure Max Strus is a good defender by the Nerds metrics or something. I don't believe it.
I mean, he's definitely a better defender than Tyler Hero, just based on the fact that he is big. Like, I mean, like, Hero isn't actually a bad defender. It's just that he has small arms and he's skinny and can get bullied and all that shit. Like that is one of the things that I've thought about a lot, is like the Raptors did not have any guys that the Sixers could exploit in the half court when things got bad. Like, things got bad, and it was like, I guess we just hope we get switched on to, like, Gary Trent Jr. or something, and we can make something of it. The Heat have multiple defenders that they can hopefully target. I mean, we saw in Philly when we didn't have Harden and Embiid for that game, and Maxey and Tobias and Shake and Furkan were just fucking destroying Tyler Hero. And the hope is that if Jimmy isn't 100%, then they're going to need to rely, and especially with Lowry potentially being hobbled, whatever it is, they're going to need to rely on guys like Depot and Hero and dudes who are not used to, being able to kind of stay on the court as much as they should be able to, because they just need the shot creation offensively so desperately. So it will be interesting to see if we can get like a bogged down kind of playoff matchup. I think that probably plays into the Heat's hands a little bit better just because of their style. But like, I still think that I think it goes 7. I think the Heat will win the series in 7, because I only exist to be, fucking tortured by Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. But I also think, and also Tyler Hero will probably like do some TikTok dance I've never seen after hitting a game winner, and
we are gonna hate Hero so much after this.
I hate him already.
I hate him already, but like,
I hate him. Yeah. Yeah.
Duncan Robinson too. Just the white guys. We're gonna hate the white guys.
I hate them so much. I really don't like. I hate Jimmy because of everything that happened here.
Yeah, I do like Jimmy.
Yeah.
I probably won't enter the series, but I've always liked Jimmy even before he was here.
Yeah.
Lowry I used to like before Raptors fans started acting.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Same.
Yeah.
Bam's fine. I mean, I think Bam's overrated, but I think defensively he's very good.
the Heat are like the American Raptors to me, where I don't respect them, and their fans are annoying,
Yeah,
and I really want to beat them, and they have this stupid culture thing, which is just, oh my god.
it's
Oh,
so
shut
annoying.
up about that. But yeah, I this series, I don't see a world where this series isn't like 6 or 7 grinded out, just
Yeah,
awful games. It's going to be just awful to watch. We're going to be a total hell, both
it's gonna
sides.
suck. Yep.
Like it's going to be 90 to 88 every game.
Yeah.
I, I guess I do feel good about this series. I don't know. I really
I
feel I've
felt
always
better
felt
about
good.
it heading into the playoffs, but we also we have to consider how down and out were those Hawks, because they seemed like they did not want to even be in that series.
Oh
But
yeah, I think the Hawks had a miserable season. I think they were pretty much done. Where
yeah,
the Heat were like the Jimmy injury, like, all right, we're fine with taking this to a game 6. They're like, we're not. Hawks
yeah,
are not. But yeah, yeah, I don't respect the Heat at all. If they beat us, I still won't respect them. Um, the bubble run was the fakest thing I've ever seen, aside from the
of course.
Hawks last year. Um, uh, yeah, but like it's basically comes down to what I said. I feel like they have so many exploitable guys: Robinson, Hero, Strus for Maxi to exploit, and Harden, I guess. I'm sure Harden will get locked up by Duncan Robinson at some point, and we'll be like, "What's
Well,
going on?"
Ben Simmons got locked up by Duncan Robinson last year. Remember that famous clip where he was
No, I
posting
don't.
up? There's a clip where Ben's trying to post up Duncan Robinson because he got him on a
Sure, it happened.
switch. Yeah,
Sure, it
and
happened.
Robinson doesn't budge at all, and then Ben just passes it back out to Embiid, who's on the perimeter, and it sails by his head. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
he
yeah,
was like
like
panicking.
I felt good about this matchup since like January. I just don't. I think that in this type of series, my hope would be Embiid is just so much better than anyone on the Heat.
Yeah,
And in a series that's going to be as close as this series is going to be, I think having the better player just could be the difference maker very easily. Usually is the difference maker.
true.
Maybe it won't be in this series, but so that's why I think I'd pick the Sixers in 7. But like I said earlier, I have this mental barrier where I can't picture them actually getting to the conference finals until they
Until
do
they
it.
do. Especially against a good coach like Spoelstra, a
Yeah.
team that makes a lot of sense, was the one
And
seed,
like again,
regardless of how we feel
they've
about them as playoff team.
we're in year 5 now of this era, of the Embiid era.
Yeah.
They've never won this type of series.
Nope.
They've never won this series where we're going into saying it's going to be close, it's going to be a toss up. They've never won. The
Nope.
only series they've ever won are the first round series against easy teams that aren't very good.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
we'll see.
And I do think that, I don't know. I think that like the Tobias Jimmy matchup is going to be interesting because Tobias has looked fantastic. Like, I think he was our most consistent player in the first round. I thought that he showed up every night. He hustled. His defense was fantastic. Offensively, the shot came and went, but he was willing to take the shots. He was making quick decisions. If we get that version of Tobias for this series, I think it's going to go far. I think if the Heat can kind of get into his head, if they put like a
That would be
PJ
fair.
Tucker on him, like that could be a tough matchup.
Yeah. My fear with the Heat would be that they seem like a team that is equipped to really turn Tobias back into old Tobias. With Tucker is a tough matchup, and he could get in his head. Bunch of switchy wings, Jimmy and Tucker, and even Bam for stretches when Embiid's not on the court.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my concern. They need Tobias to be the Tobias that we just saw for this series to win this series.
Absolutely. And Tobias defensively, we'll see how he does against Jimmy, because if they put him on Jimmy, do you think they start with Danny Green on Jimmy is my question.
Probably. Yeah.
I think so too. Because I think that to me, there's a major...
You just made me worried because now I think about it. Would he start Matisse? And
No.
to say we need someone to play Jimmy?
I don't think he will. I hope not. I think that last series was an obvious indicator that Thibault is nothing more than a spot minute player, if at all a playoff player that you can play. And I do think that he will get some run in this series, but I don't think they're going to rely on him as much as they used to.
I'm just not going to at any point.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, if there was any coach who would watch that series, then go to the next series and be like, let's put him back in the starting lineup, it would be Doc.
True. So the major difference between last year when we put Danny on Trey is that Trey has the ability to shoot pull-up threes, mid-range pull-ups. He can get into the paint. He can run pick and rolls, throw alley-oops. Jimmy is as great of a player as he is. He's much more limited in terms of what he's going to do with off the bounce creation than a guy like Trey was, especially last year. And I'm thinking that they probably start with Danny, see how it goes. Danny's actually, like, even during his Sixers tenure, and I know he's almost 35 years old, but like even during his Sixers tenure, has done a decent job against kind of bigger, slower. Not that Jimmy's slow, but like slower. He's not like a quick jitterbug guard.
Yeah, he's not a Trey.
No, he's not a Trey, or he's not even like a Bradley Beal, who's like will just like beat you with his, like, you know, off the dribble athleticism, quickness, like whatever. Like he's quick, but like he really dominates with his physicality and his ability to like get by you and stuff. And it will be interesting to see if Danny can keep up with that. But I think they start with Danny just because I think that Tobias was so important to them in the last series that they might either try to save Tobias in order to see if he can take that matchup later, or they will hope that, I think personally you could go either way. They might just hope that because Tobias was important to them offensively in the last series as well as defensively, that he can stay out of foul trouble. And Jimmy's really good at drawing fouls. Like Siakam gave the Sixers problems at times, but like Jimmy's like a much better version of what Siakam's going to do. And that is the one thing that worries me about that matchup, is that Jimmy is definitely going to take this personally.
Yeah, Jimmy's going to destroy us. Like, yeah, that's just the given. Shut down the other guys.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think you kind of can't really worry about Jimmy doing his bullshit. Like, if he's going to hit pull-up threes, you have to live with it. Like, you just can't worry about that. In the same way that the Hawks were just like, whatever, like you can have these pull-up threes. They're not, even if he's making these bullshit shots, he's like a 19% 3-point shooter on the season. Yeah, if he's doing that, you lose the series. Like, that's kind of how it is. Like,
I do think he's a better 3-point shooter than like that says.
I agree.
Because I feel like he hates shooting threes. And I feel like we see this every year. He saw it in Philly. He doesn't like to shoot threes. In the playoffs, he shoots threes because he kind of has to in the playoffs to survive. Yeah. So, yeah, like he's not like a Ben Simmons level, like just play off him. But you're going to have to live with those shots. If Jimmy shoots 3 of 5 from 3 in a game and puts up 35 points, you're going to lose. You're probably going to lose.
Right.
And
exactly.
You just take it.
You have to take what you can. You can. I think that Joel's paint protection is going to have to be impeccable this series. It's going to have to be really, really good.
This really is going to have this, and this is going to have to be just an incredible series from Embiid, on both ends. Yeah, like, you know, because Bam's obviously he's a very good defender, but he's 6'9", I believe. Yeah, so that's 3 inches taller. He's got to take Bam, and if the Heat do decide to switch, which I don't think they will, and he gets. Yeah, and but if he gets on, you know, a PJ Tucker or a Jimmy, he's got to just destroy him. He's got to take it personally, just destroy him.
Yeah, I agree. And it will be interesting to see in terms of like matchup wise, like, I don't know. We'll see who they put on the Strus Robinson. In theory, Maxey should be the one that can like run around screens and defend like that. But he's just so small that you're
can't put Harden on him.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, you'll put Harden on Tucker. You'll put Harden on Tucker. You'll try to hide him in the corner. Hope that Tucker doesn't do his bullshit where he's actually been kind of attacking closeouts and getting finger rolls somehow this year. I don't really understand.
You know he will.
It's whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Like, if anything that Harden can do is it's defend in the post. So like if PJ Tucker wants to try that.
The one thing I will say about the Heat, even though I don't respect them and I think we're well equipped to beat them, they have so many guys that you could play in a lab that would destroy the Sixers. Like Gabe Vincent, the Gabe Vincent game, Max Strus, PJ Tucker. Like 100%. PJ Tucker will have a game. PJ Tucker will have a game in the series where he goes 5 for 6 from 3. Sure. Makes a couple of things, and all of a sudden it's like PJ Tucker scored 27 points in game 4, and we're down 3-1 because PJ Tucker scored 27 points.
I mean, but he's kind of like their version of Danny. Like, I mean, like Danny, if we get this version of Danny that we got in the last series, I feel really good about our starting 5. And I think that's important in a series like this because your starting 5, except for Danny, are probably going to have to play like 40 minutes a game for you to win the series.
Yeah, if you get the way Danny played in this series is just incredible.
Awesome.
It saved him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 4 for 9 in game 5, 4 for 7 last night.
Yeah.
I don't remember his numbers from the first 4 games exactly off the top of my head. But
He played well in games 1 and 2.
He did. I don't remember his shooting numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you get that Danny for this series, you're in great shape.
Yep.
The fear is if you get the Danny that we saw for most of the season, you're screwed.
And Spoelstra will take advantage of that for sure because he's not worried about leaving Danny and recovering, and like they'll just try to run him off the line and be like, look, we'll let you attack any closeout you want, Danny Green.
I went into like the Heat subreddit last night just to see what they were saying. By the way, just an embarrassing amount of Raptors fans on there. Just have some shame.
God, hold on. Were they doing the hey Heat fans? It's the most cringe-worthy shit. You're not from another nation. Well, technically you are from another nation, but they act like they're from like a war-torn nation that like has like a fucking 1,000-year-old rivalry, and they're like, I come in peace, I'm a fan of the Raptors, and I'm rooting for you guys. And Kyle Lowry, shut up. I hate when fans do that shit.
The top 3 posts on the Heat subreddit were Raps fan here. But anyway, I went in, and the Heat fans were like weird. Most of the comments on there were Raps fans, but the Heat fans were like weirdly worried about Shake Milton
because he cooked them in the last game.
They were like the way we talk about Gabe Vincent. Like, oh God, I was confused. They were like weirdly really worried about Shake Milton.
That's actually incredible. I thought Shake was fine in the series. I think that he had like 1 or 2 bad games, and I felt like he's a fine guard wing option to play.
Yeah, I didn't think he could play in the playoffs, and he proved me wrong in that series. We'll see if he doesn't.
Defensively, he was really bad in the one game, game 5, I believe. But other than that, I thought that he was pretty good. Like he had a few blown rotations where I was like, "Fucking hell, what are you doing?" But once again, you're hoping that he only is in there to shoot threes. And like, regardless, offensively, he's much more advanced than like Danny, even if his role isn't like ideal. Like Danny's role is ideal for what this team needs, which is a guy who's going to stand in the corner and shoot a bunch of threes. But Shake, like, at least can attack a closeout and can run a little bit of offense when you get into panic situations. Like, he can have the ball a little bit, even with Harden or Maxey on the court. So it will be interesting to see.
He's definitely emerged as one of the bench guy that you put in there. I thought it was going to be Furkan.
I trust him.
I thought it was going to be Furkan, and Shake's better.
I agree. I think Shake's much better. I think that his mentality has just been he's kind of been like Hooper Shake since Harden got here. Yeah. And apparently they're boys, I've heard. Harden's like a big fan of Shake's. So I think that Shake's always been a heat check guy. He's always been a confidence dude. And if you have someone like Harden in your corner, who, as we've joked about before, is like the 1,000th percentile outcome for Shake Milton, like that it must do wonders for his confidence. And I think that it's shown. Like, he's basically been like, look, dude, like, you're a shooter. Like, all we need you to do is shoot and move the ball and do whatever you need to do defensively. And you can hang, you can play. And I think that it's been awesome to see him kind of have a little bit of like a role adjustment, because he was never going to be an on-ball guy. He just doesn't have the athleticism or the decision-making to really be a consistent on-ball guy. But like off the ball, on the ball Shake, I can fuck with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This series will come down to Shake Milton versus Gabe Vincent.
There we go. Put it in stone, dude. All right, before we get out of here, 2 things. Do we want to talk a little bit about some of the other series? Bucks Celtics. I think the Celtics are going to cruise.
Yeah, I think Celtics win in 5.
Same.
Yeah.
Giannis is too good to get swept. Like, I think Giannis will win a game.
Giannis will get game 3 in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But the Celtics are just too good right now.
And no Middleton. Like,
that's a killer. Even with Middleton, I pick the Celtics probably in 7.
Yeah,
Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to really regret not going for home court, because those first 2 games, Boston's that might be the toughest place to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, it is,
and you could go down. You could be down 2-0. And
and Boston starts series really well, and the Bucks suck at the beginning of every series. Like, they make adjustments and they figure it out over the course of a series, where it feels like it's the opposite for the Celtics. I think that's over in 5 as well. I think that if we look around the league at the other ones, I've said I think the Celtics are going to the finals. We'll see, but I think Golden State's going to destroy whoever comes out of the Minnesota Grizzlies. Like that's not even going to be the Grizzlies,
Yeah.
man. How are they even winning this series?
Oh my god, it's unbelievable. The Timberwolves have been the better team all 6 games outside of like 2 20-2 runs by the Grizzlies that have just shifted the series.
Yeah, it should be over.
Grizzlies Warriors gives me the vibe of a series that the Grizzlies are going to win game 1. Everyone's going to be like, oh wait, the Grizzlies. The Warriors are going to just smoke them the next 4.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that will be over in 5. And then the last series, which by the way, RIP to the great era of the Utah Jazz.
Oh, what a way to cap off the night.
The Mitchell Gobert. Yeah, what a fantastic outcome of Bojan Bogdanovic completely whiffing a wide open 3 to end the Mitchell Gobert era in Utah.
When they blow it up this offseason, Daryl's got to get in on some of those Jazz role players.
I would love it. Bojan?
I'd love Bojan. Danny, I don't know the salaries off the top of my head, but Danny for Bojan, Danny and a first for Bojan or something.
The only thing I worry about Bojan is that defensively he looked pretty bad in the series. But
yeah,
I can live with having an insane shooter that another one to put next to Harden and Embiid would be pretty fucking nice. I don't know if he could survive defensively in the playoffs, but Royce O'Neal, who I think is only good in theory. I don't really know if he's actually good. I can never tell with that guy, but he seems like someone that would probably be our best 2-way wing, which is funny. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Does Danny still like Thibault? Danny Ainge? Can we hit him up and see if we can?
Danny and Thibault for someone. That's a good, yeah.
There we go. Danny and Thibault.
That's our Thibault team.
That's our package. Utah Jazz, baby. Well, look, politically, he's going to love Utah.
Yeah, he'll love Utah.
They'll all love him, too, dude. None of them are vaccinated. But it's also from the Pacific Northwest. It's not far. So, yeah, the Jazz are toast. Do you think Mitchell or Gobert gets traded this offseason, or both?
I'm going to say both.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll say both. Gobert, I think, is definitely getting traded. Well, actually, I don't know. I'm not like plugged in with the Jazz fans enough to really know.
Yeah.
But if I were them, I'd trade both. Like, because I think at minimum you have to choose between one or the other.
Right.
And neither of them are good enough where I'm building a team around. So you might as well just trade both.
Yeah.
If they can get a ton from the Knicks for Mitchell, I'd do it. He's not that good.
Okay. Everyone keeps saying that about Danny Ainge, like, oh, he's gonna go in trader Danny, like whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. What's up?
He doesn't make trades.
Not anymore. Like he was way too conservative, if anything, the last few years in Boston. Like Brad Stevens was way more aggressive in his first year than Danny Ainge was in his last 3 years. Like
Danny does not make the Derek White trade.
Yeah, no, he's not giving up a first-round pick ever. No. Yeah, he's not going to do that. He wouldn't even give up the first-round pick to get off the Kemba contract to get Horford, I bet. Like, that's not going to happen. Yeah. So, I do think that I'll make a prediction. I think they trade Gobert. They try to make things work with Mitchell, and then they end up having to trade him in a year or two. Like, that's my prediction.
That's what I hope happens, because that would be a disaster.
100%, it's going to be a disaster, and we need the Ben Simmons for Gobert trade to happen.
I don't need that. I don't need that to happen. The Nets would be really good. I don't need that.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, never mind. I mean, the Nets. I think the Nets are going to be really good.
As much as we hate Gobert,
yeah,
he could make some teams like really good.
He could, yeah.
Like if the Hawks get Gobert and Trey, that's a scary tandem.
Yeah, it's like they're the complete inverse of each other as players too. Like you could not imagine two more different players than Trae Young and Rudy Gobert.
Yeah,
but so what's the last series? So the Mavs and the Suns. Do you think the Mavs have a chance in that series?
I do actually. The Suns, they didn't look like the Suns in the regular season in the Pels series.
Yeah,
Booker is. I don't think Booker's 100%. Chris Paul's always got something going on, and the Mavs are just really good. Like
they are.
We've kind of just ignored it the entire year, but they're really good. I'd pick the Suns in 6 probably, but I could see the Mavs pulling out a series win there.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go Suns in 7 just because I think that the Suns are. I mean, I don't know, dude. Like you're one Luka. Like Luka's probably the best player in that series, and the way that Brunson's been playing, as people have pointed out, he just outplayed Donovan Mitchell in a playoff series. Like. Dude is a gamer, and like
the Suns could. I mean, the Mavs could definitely win that series.
Yeah, Mavs could easily win that series. I'll go. All right, so I will go with what I want to see in the West because it doesn't affect me as much as the Eastern Conference does. But I do want to see Suns Warriors
Same.
Western Conference Finals because I think those are the two best teams that they have been all season, and I would like to see how that series shakes out. Like I think that would be an all-time. That would be the best Western Conference Finals since the like we said, since the Rockets, the CP3. Yeah. So ultimately, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But these next few games and series are going to be awesome. I hope that the Timberwolves win tonight and extend it to
I think
7. I think they will too. They're the better team. They've been the better team the whole series.
I picked them in Game 7 probably.
Yeah,
honestly.
Oh, and also Kevin O'Connor. What is up with you putting the Grizzlies ahead? The Grizzlies haven't even made it out of round 1, and you put them on your power rankings ahead of the Sixers?
What? The Sixers would beat the Grizzlies in 5.
Yeah, the Grizzlies are way more fraudulent than I thought that they would be.
Yeah, like I didn't think they'd have the success they had in the regular season, but I thought they'd be. When I said that, I thought that meant like they'd lose to the Warriors in 6.
Same.
But like they're a first round out, really.
Like in any if you don't get a few different plays swinging in your favor.
Yeah, like I remember saying before the play when seeding was playing out the last week, I remember saying, well, if the Grizzlies should probably want to avoid the Mavs because the Mavs will give them a lot of trouble. Maybe they could win that series. Now I think the Mavs would sweep them.
Yeah, I think the Mavs would win that series too. I can't believe how bad. I mean, the Grizzlies half-court offense and the fact that they were kind of built on depth kind of tells you everything you need to know about them right now.
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson Jr. can't stay on the court. He fouls everyone.
26 fouls in 5 games or something. That's incredible.
Absolutely insane. But all right, well, RIP Raptors pack is up.
See ya.
Heat pack up next. Hopefully. Maybe next time we talk, I will still be alive because I won't be killed. Like this is my version of your Raptor. Like I trashed the Heat for so long.
At this point, the Raptors fans have aligned themselves with the Heat so shamelessly. It's truly embarrassing. Like it's really embarrassing. Like you guys can't be doing this. Like, oh my God. But they've clearly aligned themselves and made it so a way that this is now Sixers Raptors Part 2.
Okay. Right.
So we can beat them twice. That would be incredible. If we lose them, they're going to be like the Raptors just beat the Sixers.
It's true.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
If the Sixers beat the Raptors, you're done. We're playing the Heat now.
We're the villains now, though. Even though the Heat we're the domestic abuse team and all that stuff. Like we're seen as the villains, and I embrace it.
We're seen as the villains, but the Raptors fans are the villains, really, because they're, they're sending death threats to people. Like that's the problem.
All right, well, let's hope for a death threat-free series this time around. No death threats. No, I honestly think that the Heat fans are going to be mad at me and ratio me and yell at me all the time.
The Heat fans have aligned themselves with the Raptors fans.
Of course.
Like I was going into it, I was like,
coalition.
The Heat fans are annoying, but they'll be chill. Well, maybe they'll be chiller than the Raptors fans. But now they've aligned themselves to the Raptors fans. So the Raptors fans will rub off on them, and I'm sure we'll be getting some death threats from South Beach by game 2.
I can take it as long as they're not personally directed at me. I think that I will be fine. And if they are, then I'll probably have to disappear for a little bit from the internet because I'm genuinely worried about my own safety. But Mike, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Let's talk soon and go Sixers, baby.